Hi guys, Andrea Mills here. Today I'm going to continue talking on the series about raising adults, and I wanted to share with you guys one of the fun ways that we have done to help encourage self-improvement or character improvement. So we have a little guy. I'm going to use him for an example because this was a recent experience with this idea, but we have a little guy who comes over to our house fairly regularly, and one day they were all out in the backyard playing dodgeball, and he came in and he was just crying and crying and crying because he got hit in the head with a dodgeball. And this was not the cry of a little guy who was hurt, but it was that kind of a cry when someone's kind of throwing a fit because they didn't like what somebody did to them. And this was something that we had experienced with him a lot, and we're very good friends with him, so I knew it would be okay for me to say something. So that day when this happened, he came along and he was crying, and I said, hey buddy, come here. And so he comes over and I said, you know what, imagine what it would be like if Mr. Mills cried like that when he got hit in the head with a dodgeball. And of course that's a funny thought because men don't cry like that. And so I said, you know what, men don't cry when they get hit in the head with a dodgeball. And he's like, yeah, that's true, men would not cry about that. So I said, here's what I want you to do, okay? And he's like, okay. And I said, next time you get hit in the head with the dodgeball, I want you to give yourself a point. And he's like, okay. And I said, so you get hit in the head and you get a point, and you come back and tell me how many points you got. And he's like, okay. So he goes back out and keeps playing. A little bit later he comes in and he's just all smiles, and he's like, Mrs. Mills, I got 2 points. And I said, you did? He goes, yeah, I got hit in the head 2 times. And he was so proud of himself. And pretty soon I see him actually asking one of my boys to hit him purposely in the head with a ball, and he's just taking the ball, just bouncing it off his head, and this little guy's like, point. He was just so proud of himself. And I found out later that when he went home that night, he's like, yeah, I'm a man, you know. He kept saying that, I'm a man because I get hit in the head with a ball and I got a point, kind of a thing. And since then, every time I see him, he's like, Mrs. Mills, I got 2 points this week, or Mrs. Mills, you know, I got hit in the head and I didn't even cry. And it's just super cute. It's been probably, I don't know, maybe a month since this conversation happened, and it's still such a part of him wanting to tell me all the time how many points he got for being a man, for getting hit in the head with the ball. And so that's, I guess, the idea now of what I am sharing is the point system. And this is a totally internal idea, but we play a lot of video games in our house, and one of the things that we try to do is try to help the kids encourage themselves, I guess. And so we'll say, you know, it seems like you're having a hard time with this, so when you are able to conquer this personal problem, then I want you to give yourself a point. Like, one of our sons had a lot of trouble with getting angry really easily at other people, and so we would ask him, you know, when you feel that, you know, we talk about what provokes that, or when he's most likely to have that problem. And if that happens and you are able to control it, give yourself a point. And this is just a mental exercise, but I think a lot of times just acknowledging that we have made a tiny bit of progress is really helpful. And I've actually done charts before where I had like a tree for each one of the kids, and they were all working on some different character thing, but every time they felt like they had overcome in one instance whatever it was that they were dealing with, they would go put an apple on their tree, a little apple sticker. And they weren't supposed to share this with anyone else. They could share it with Tom or I, but they were just supposed to know in their own heart that they felt like doing something that they weren't supposed to do, or that they knew was a struggle for them, and when they felt like they overcame it, they could go give themselves an apple. And one time I had snowmen, and they had little white stickers, little kind of like snowballs, and so we would put snowballs around the snowman and they could add to their chart. And so it was kind of a visual reminder for them that they were making progress in their character. But even without having that actual tangible thing to look at, we just like to encourage them to mentally give themselves a point. And Tom and I kind of do the same thing too, that we have our own personal struggles that we have to deal with, and we try to first acknowledge, you know, with the anger issues, for me it comes down to usually when it's like a time constraint. When I feel pressured because there's a time crunch, that's probably when I'm going to start feeling angry or having more trouble controlling my temper. And so when I'm successful in making it through one of those times, I mentally give myself a point. And it's kind of silly, but it kind of helps, because when we can visualize, even though there might not be a chart there, but we visualize, you know, what it looks like on a game screen, and it's got your little bar up above that shows what your score is or something like that. We visually give ourselves a point. It really helps to feel like, oh, we're making progress. And one time I shared with this idea with some other people, and one of the ladies seemed kind of offended that we give ourselves a point instead of giving God the glory. And I thought that was kind of funny, because I think to myself, if, you know, if let's say a basketball team, if there's a coach and his team, and this coach is working with his team, and the team's out there playing the game, and they score a point for the team, who really gets the glory? The coach does, because he's the one that trained them and taught them. So to me, it's not taking away glory from God when we give ourselves a point. It's sharing that glory, that we're acknowledging that God is changing our hearts. He's helping us. And this isn't our point, it's in my own. It's our point as in mine and God's together. He's working in my heart, and this is a way for me to acknowledge that I'm making progress of becoming more Christ-like. So that's just something that we do with our family, and I want to give you guys that idea. And of course, if you don't do it, that's fine, but I like to share what we do, because a lot of times it sparks your own creativity and coming up with things that work with your family. So if you want to keep watching videos about raising children, large family life, organizing, all those kinds of things, I hope you'll subscribe if you haven't already. And I really appreciate you taking the time to watch this video today and have this conversation with me. We will see you guys again very soon.